What's up guys, LQ here with the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me right here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, and TV shows. And right now I'm going to talk about the new movie starring Dennis Quaid and Jon Voight, Reagan. For those who don't know, I have taught American history for many years. I don't teach right now, but I have taught for many years. I have a bachelor's degree in American history. I have a master's degree. So, I mean, I'm a student of history, and I love it. So anytime a biopic comes out about a president or a major figure in American history, I'm going to go watch it. And I'm probably going to find things that I enjoy in it. And that was the case with Reagan. I definitely found things that I enjoyed in this movie. Before I saw it, I got online and read a lot of the chatter, and obviously it's a divisive film. That's the culture we're living in right now. We are living in a culture that's very politically divisive. I tend to remove myself from that. I've talked about this a few times here on this channel. Politically, I'm pretty center of the road. I lean left on some issues. I lean right on other issues. I have voted Republican in my life. I have also voted Democrat in my life. So I'm kind of a center of the road guy. And maybe that allows me to go into movies like this without any political baggage, because I just want to see history come alive. And yeah, a lot of the online chatter about this movie was very divisive. And that kind of makes me sad. You know, Reagan was an American president. I revere the office of the presidency, and I look at all of our presidents and try to find the good that they did. I'm never going to agree with everything every president does. But generally, I look at Reagan and I say he was a good man who did what he thought was best. I do the same thing with Obama. I look at him and say he was a good man who did what he thought was best. I do the same thing with Clinton. I do the same thing with Bush. All right? Trump. I look at Trump and I say he loves his country and he did what he thought was best. Morally, there's some stuff there with Trump. We all know that, and I'm not going to make this a political conversation. What I'm trying to say is that I revere the office of the presidency, and I believe, I've talked about this on my channel before also, I am a Christian. I am a Christian, and I'm not going to shy away from that on my YouTube channel to get more views or anything like that. I am what I am. So I believe that the office of the presidency is, the Bible says that our leaders are ordained by God to lead. And that as Christians, we are to follow our leaders. Kind of a tough pill to swallow for some Christians. But I look at our presidents and I say, okay, I revere this office. And as a Christian, this person has been ordained to lead. So I'm going to honor this person, and I'm not going to agree with everything they do. I'm going to probably agree with some stuff that they do, but I'm going to take a very objective approach when evaluating the job that a president does. I don't care if they have a D next to their name or an R next to their name. I'm going to take a very objective approach in evaluating the job that a president did, and then that helps me determine how I cast my vote. So I tell you guys that to understand where I'm coming from with the movie Reagan. I come from it as a fan of history, as someone who loves the office of the presidency, as someone who can look at presidents and say, I don't agree with everything this person did, but it's my job to honor this person and follow this person and root for this person's success. So when I watch Reagan, I'm able to fully immerse myself into the story being told. And they do a pretty good job of capturing who he was. Dennis Quaid did a brilliant job portraying him. Just a brilliant. I mean, I knew Dennis Quaid was a good actor. I didn't know he was that good of an actor. He did. There were times when I was like, "Man, that looks like Ronald Reagan." Dennis Quaid did a great job. John Voight plays a Russian spy who is kind of the narrator of the story, referring to Reagan as the Crusader and narrating the role that Reagan played in the fall of the Soviet Union. And it was an interesting choice for a narrator, and I liked it. I did. There's some de-aging technology in this movie that I thought was very well done. Some of the best de-aging technology I've ever seen done. I don't know how much of that was makeup and how much of it was actually digital de-aging, but that uncanny valley feeling that you have when you're watching de-aged people didn't really have that in this. Penelope Ann Miller, who, by the way, was one of my first celebrity crushes when I was a kid, and she was in Kindergarten Cop. I just thought she was so pretty. But Penelope Ann Miller plays Nancy Reagan. Man, another performance that just embodied the character. And the love that they have for each other is a love that, you know, when I look at me and my wife, I'm like, man, I hope when we're in our golden years, we still have that same type of love for each other. Now, this being a biopic that definitely skews on the conservative side, they mention some of Reagan's more controversial decisions and comments, but some of them they kind of glance over, like what he said during the AIDS epidemic. That was mentioned, but it was glossed over. They definitely skew this in a more positive light. Star Wars, which we all know was a huge waste of money, or at least if you've studied history, you know that it was a huge waste of money. I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking about his Star Wars initiative. Huge waste of money. And that one was dealt with a little bit more, but it was dealt with in a more positive light than a negative light. And I believe that as an objective student of history, you have to look at that as a negative expenditure that he took on in his presidency. The airstrikes, the airline strikes, again, mentioned here, but kind of glanced over a little bit. This was really about Reagan's battle against communism and the role that he played in the fall of the Soviet Union. Even something that could have been skewed as a very positive note in the Reagan presidency, and that's the hostage crisis that ended on the first day of his presidency. That was also kind of glanced over. It was very much focused on Reagan versus communism. But overall, the story worked for me. From a historical perspective, as a student of history, the story mostly worked for me. There was some weird editing here. It's choppy. They tell the story of Reagan from when he was a kid to his death. So there's a lot there to cover. And because of that, a lot of it is very choppy, where they'll spend 5 minutes with him at one age, then 5 minutes with him at another age. And it's a lot of transition. But I guess that helped me from getting bored. It was interesting. They were telling parts of his life that were interesting, some stuff that I didn't even know. And after the movie was over, I fact-checked it, and yeah, it was pretty accurate. So overall, I liked this movie. I don't know. I think conservatives are going to love this movie. I think if you're a liberal, you're not going to like it, because it's very positive in the way it portrays Reagan and his presidency. And I know that liberals don't view his presidency as positive, and conservatives do. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I think if you're a liberal and you're someone who enjoys biopics, I think there might be something you can get out of this from purely a educational exercise at watching it and kind of evaluating the job that they do at telling the story, the things they get right, some of the things that they get wrong, and some of the things that they just glance over. So I think that as an exercise, that could be interesting. But if that's not you and you're a liberal, I would avoid this movie. And like I said, I think conservatives are going to really like it. I will say that I saw it in a packed theater, and there was applause when it was over. And, you know, I typically, in my part of the country, that's not something that you typically get. So, so that's just an interesting observation. So, guys, I give this a positive review. I definitely go positive on it, but it's not going to be for everybody. And I would just know how you feel about it before you decide whether or not you're going to buy a ticket for it. So that's my take on Reagan. What did you think of Reagan? Are you going to watch it? Let me know in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, subscribe to my channel, and until next time, we'll see you guys later.